morning, B. Good morning, good morning, good morning.
Good morning, Butterfly. How you doing this morning?
Good. I'm good. I
Good. And
woke up, I'm ready.
you did. Good. That's what I'm talking about. And good
Yeah.
morning to all the people out there watching from YouTube, watching from Facebook Live, watching from Instagram Live. It is our 25th day, 25th consecutive day in celebration of Black History Month, acknowledging our history, our present, our purpose, and our future. Man, what a beautiful day to be alive. What an opportunity we have today to do exactly what we came here to do. Something flew in my head. Um, I want to say thank you to all of you. Thank you, Mom. My name is B. I'm the co-host. And then we have your beautiful host, the Butterfly. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome. I woke up on the good side of the bed today too. I think I've been doing that a lot lately. It's not always the most sleep, but it's some good rest. So
Yeah. I kept last night. I really kept like, okay, is it time? I won't gone back to that, and so finally, I just like, you know what? I'm just gonna get up. I'm just gonna get up, wash some clothes, do some things around the house. And so I was like sitting on ready, like, okay, 7 o'clock. Come on, come on, come on. So here we go.
there we go. I wake up right before my alarm, like literally 1 minute before alarm. I wake up, I look around, I'm like, I know it's about to happen. I know it's about to happen. Doo! And then it starts going on.
Yeah.
So I feel like my body's in a good schedule right now, you know. So
You
but
know
but
what? I wanna say Leslie's. I don't know if she's on, but Leslie Morales' comment about she wants to make the money so that she can get back her time. She wants to be
buy
successful
back
so
her
that she
time.
can buy back her time. I thought about that quite a bit yesterday.
Yeah. Did you?
Yeah, yeah, I did. That was interesting.
That's
That
what
was
it's all
interesting.
about, right?
Yeah. I don't. Yeah. So I'm gonna have to maybe talk about that. Maybe I'll have her on and we'll talk about that later. So,
Okay, that
but
game.
that
That's
really
awesome.
stuck with me. Yeah.
I think that's actually I think that might be a quote that's inside of Think and Grow Rich. The the there's another book that's called Think and Grow Rich. It's not the one that's a black choice, but it's another one. I think that's in there if I'm not mistaken, but I might be mistaken. But yeah, we got the author of Think and Grow Rich, a black choice, is also the author of the book that we're reading, Daily Motivations for African American Success. That's what we've been going through the last 25 days in a row, folks, in a row. So if y'all have been here with us for all 25 days, man, I really appreciate y'all. Really, really, I mean, this is, if you've been here 25 days, then we're doing something right. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Hmm.
I mean, we've been here for 25 days, so obviously it's working for us. We don't make a dime off of this. We don't, there's no profit that we get from you buying this book. There's no profit we get from you attending this show. This is just purely from the heart and for your soul. So thank y'all for rocking with us and for being there with us. Again, we're reading Daily Motivations for African American Success in acknowledgement and celebration of Black History Month. Um, so if you're here, thank you for being here. There's a purpose in it. Daily Motivations for African American Success is going to help you focus on the thoughts, attitudes, and deeds that will lead you to the achievement of your true goals. In 365 short, powerful motivations, one for each day of the year, Dennis Kimbro, the author, again, of Think and Grow Rich, A Black Choice, leads us to discover how to use the present moment and our own gifts to transcend labels, cultivate a positive attitude, become wise enough to know when to say yes and when to say no, and allows us to look inward so we can answer life's challenges. Each motivation begins with words of wisdom from such distinguished and celebrated African Americans as Malcolm X, Marion Wright Elderman, Whoopi Goldberg, Charlene Hunter Galt, Bill Cosby, Carl Rowan, Mother Hale, Reverend Leon Sullivan, and hundreds of others. This treasure trove of practical inspiration will give you fresh encouragement every single day of the year, but what it teaches you will last a lifetime. And that has certainly been the case in my experience. What about you, Mom? Have you learned something that's going to last you a lifetime?
I have like this book. I cannot say it enough, you guys. It's changing the atmosphere, and maybe it's changing me more, and
Mm,
the atmosphere is changing because
wow.
of that. So be the change you want to see in the world and in others.
Yeah.
really just coming alive. And it may be the consistency, the dedication to it as well, Brandon, that we're putting into it and then applying it. So we're not here just saying that this is for you, like this is for me. I can't speak for Brandon, but I'm sure he feels the same. But this was so timely for what my spirit needed. So very timely.
Wow, wow. So like we
Yeah.
do every day. I want to actually before we start, I want to look in the comments, see who we got there. We got Mike Arnold, we got Chosen Victory. You know, we got a couple people. We got Alex over here on the Instagram live just popped in. Man, appreciate y'all. So we might have to pull y'all in sometime as we go on through the rest of the year and see what y'all think about this book. See what these daily motivations, affirmations, and quotes from these distinguished African Americans throughout our history, what it's doing for you, what it's doing for the people that you share it with. And it's a beautiful day to be alive. Uncle Mike said that can't be more true, man. That can't be more true. So thank y'all again for joining the show. And I want to hop right into it, y'all.
Let's get
I
into
want to
it.
hop
Day
right into it.
25, right?
25. Let me sip my coffee real quick. I'm gonna let it simmer a little.
While
Mm.
he's sipping, how have y'all been with the breathing? Because I've been mindful of my breathing too, and
Oh yeah.
and I that feels better. So for those of you who listen to I don't remember the topic for that day, but
Waiting to exhale. Is it that one?
what was it?
Was it waiting to exhale?
Waiting to exhale. There we go. So we want to hear from you guys. We want to hear from you. So let's get into it.
Let's do it. My breathing's a little messed up right now. I got a little stuffy nose, but we gonna get rid of that. Shout out to the final boss, man. One of my guys from MMA, man. He just popped in. The boy got a heck of a kick and a heck of a punch. Come back and join us, man. We want to see you at the gym. I need you, bro. But just want to give a shout out to all the beautiful people that come and rock with us from Instagram Live, Facebook Live to YouTube. But let's go right into this 25th day of February. Hey, where we at? Where we at? Where we at? All right, here we go. Huh. So the title for today is titled "Dear Abby," and the quote of the day is from Sammy Davis Jr., who, of course, you all know, I'm sure, is an entertainer and a philanthropist. And the quote goes, "Don't ask for anyone's advice unless you are prepared to use it." Again, don't ask for anyone's advice unless you are prepared to use it. Um, Again, that's Sammy Davis Jr. You are never more vulnerable than at those moments when you need advice. But you also are never more in control. You are the one who decides whom to turn to, how to listen, and how seriously to act on the counsel of others. A man was on the practice tee when the club golf pro brought another golfer out for a lesson. The pro watched his student swing several times and started making suggestions for improvement. But each time the pupil interrupted with his own version of what was wrong and how to correct it. But each time the pupil interrupted with his own version of what was wrong and how to correct it. After a few minutes of this interference, the pro began nodding his head in agreement. At the end of the lesson, the student paid the pro, congratulated him on his expertise as a teacher, and left in an obviously pleased frame of mind. The observer was so astonished by the performance that he asked, "Why did you go along with him?" Son, the old pro said, with a grin as he carefully pocketed his fee. "I learned long ago that it's a waste of time to sell answers to a man who wants to buy echoes. Some people aren't good at taking advice. They can't admit when they need help. They can't deal with conflicting opinions. They only hear what they want to hear or what confirms their own opinion. They listen to the wrong people or to too many people. And even if they seek advice from those whom wisdom is widely sought, they misinterpret the advice or they don't follow through. Always remember these four rules concerning advice: admit you need it, consider the source, go to the right source, and develop a board of advisors. Don't be afraid to use these keys. And the affirmation of today that we say 3 times, one for me, one for you, and one for the people you gonna share it to, or those in the back of the room. I will be particular regarding whose advice I accept. I will be particular regarding whose advice I accept. And last time, I will be particular regarding whose advice I accept. How you feel about that, Mama? What kind of advice do you accept? Did you accept the advice of this book? Do you accept what they just said right there? How do you feel about that?
I do. I do. I think it's spot on. And it reminded me of just a few days ago when I did seek advice from someone who I thought could be beneficial in helping me see it in a different from a different perspective. So
Mm,
and didn't mean that it would waver my decision, but I often, it is good to seek advice, but you have to know, you have to be careful. I'll say that. You
mm,
have to be wise in who you choose to
mm,
go to advice for. You have to be wise in doing so because let's face it, y'all, people are fighting themselves. So,
yeah.
not saying that they can't share a word with you or give you some advice, but are they good at receiving advice? You
Mm,
know what I'm saying? You have to look at the big picture and see it all and see it all. So, and then you have to know when to fold it and when to hold it when you're giving advice.
wow.
Don't give everybody advice, but sometimes people just like he said, echoes. You
Hmm.
know, sometimes people just want to talk because they're gonna still do what they want to do.
Man, I hate that. I ain't gonna lie to you. That is
Yeah,
the worst.
they'll call you for advice and they'll talk more than you talk.
That is the worst conversation. It is the most draining when people call you for advice, but all they say is what they're gonna do, what they believe. They'll ask you a question, and then in the middle of your answer, they'll interrupt you, and then continue to say what they're gonna do. So oftentimes I'm just like, man, you know what you want to do, you know what you should do, and you know what you're gonna do. You
Before
know,
you called me,
before you call me,
before you
but you're
saw my
looking, you're
yeah,
looking for validation. You're looking for an
right.
echo chamber, and as we said yesterday or the day before, I but a minute.
But a minute,
I just
second
60 seconds, just 60 seconds. I can't. I didn't ask for it. I didn't seek it. But it came upon me. Meaning, I ain't got that much time to be your mirror. I don't have that much time to be a cave that just says the same thing back to you. And if you want my advice, then be prepared to act on it. Be prepared to take it. Have enough self control and power within yourself to truly consider it. Because if you've come to me, then you obviously think that I have something that you need, or vice versa. It might be me going to them. I have a responsibility if I go to you to truly consider your advice, not to immediately say, "Oh no, that's not it," because obviously I'm the person in need. I also thought that the title of this was very interesting, Dear Abby. You know what that is?
yeah, that's the like the. Is it still a thing? Dear Abby was the lady that used to give advice. People used to write her
Yeah, yeah. Dear
or
Abby. She
something like
started
that.
a popular column in 1956 called Dear Abby, where people would ask her
Advice.
questions and ask for advice. So I think that's just pretty cool. Now she's not African American. I think she died in like 2013, but but she's not African American. But I do think that it is such a timely, not timely, but I think it's a very appropriate title. Um, and I like his titles. I like how they make you think of people or places or something else that's loosely related, but just enough to make the connection in a dynamic way to where you understand it in a different way. So I might have to go back and read some of Dear Abigail's, I think it's her real name, Dear Abby's columns.
Brandon, you know what? I will be particular regarding whose advice I accept.
Mm,
I'm gonna turn it back inward because if I don't think we realize how much advice comes from the person that you are dying to get away from, that you are dying to live, like you
Right.
like, so maybe accepting, be particular regarding the advice you accept from yourself, the self
Mm,
that you are trying to transform, change, the renewed mind. Make sure that you are not making those decisions or accepting, because if y'all are like me, there's some inner thoughts that come from somewhere else
yeah.
that I've learned to say, no,
That
no,
ain't
we ain't going there today. This ain't the journey that we're traveling now. Um, so I think that's interesting if you kind of turn it inward and then be mindful. Do you ask for advice? And how are you when you're asking? When they're giving you their perception of it, how do you receive it? Do you receive it? Do an inventory of your life. How many times have I accepted the advice that went against what I wanted to do? You know? So I think turning this one inward, making it more about, well, in addition to making it also about the advice you accept from yourself, the distorted perceptions that come from the you that's not you, that it's not that inner-born, it doesn't come from that inner-born creativity from yesterday.
right.
You know, this could be a very personal thing, like not about the advice you seek, but the advice you give yourself, because
And
you need to be particular
are
about
you
that too.
qualified? Are you even
Hmm?
qualified to give yourself advice in the certain situations that you're in? Sometimes I think we give ourselves advice because of our ego. We don't want to
Hmm.
admit that we actually don't know. You know what I mean? And then we go and yeah, I know I can speak to myself first. I remember in high school and even in college, probably still to this day, you know, I could get some advice, but nah, I know how to do this. The next thing I know, I'm in a situation. It's always okay until it's not okay, as my mother used to say. You know what I mean? So it's like sometimes you just have to understand, you have to know that you don't know. And that if somebody else has experiential knowledge, and there's different kinds of knowledge. I can read this book, Technical Analysis for Dummies. I can read and but if I've never made a day trade in my life, then I don't have experiential knowledge. I just have book knowledge, right? I don't have knowledge through my experiences. There's something that I could learn from somebody else's experience. And if I am asking their advice, it's better if I be quiet and listen. You know what I mean? You can read about being a father all day. I promise you. I got a book up here on being a father. I tell you what, I learned more in my first week as a father than I learned from that book. Now, I'm not saying it ain't nothing in that principles that I can't apply, but as far as the knowledge, maybe it's not even knowledge, the wisdom that comes from knowledge, from the ability of knowing when and where to use knowledge. That's an advice that only came to me from experience and or from the experience of others. So it required either some hard work from me or me piggybacking off of the hard work of someone else experientially. And I'm not saying that a book wasn't that, but it just from a person to person thing, there were certain specific questions that I needed to ask. There were certain specific people that I needed to seek that benefited me more than I can say. So I want to, Mom, unless you have something, I wanted to highlight one part of this where the man says, I learned long ago it's a waste of time to sell answers to a man who wants to buy echoes. So he's in the business. He's a professional golfer. He's in the business of doing this. He's the one that with the experiential knowledge. And here he is trying to correct somebody else's swing and they're saying, oh, well, it's because of this. And I probably turned this way. And that's it. Let me go get. So after a while, we got to understand that the people that you seek advice from are going to stop listening to you. They may be talking to you, but they're going to stop listening to you. So they're going to stop giving you, that sage advice from their experience because you want to buy echoes, not advice. And I just think that's really interesting that People will use you for their purpose. If you don't come to them in humility and taking their advice, then they know that you're there for yourself. So what are they gonna do? Think they're gonna come there and keep serving your ego? No, they're gonna be like, okay, I'm gonna get whatever I can out of this, and I'm gonna keep it moving because people
I'm gonna
only
get
have
my money and keep it moving. And what's interesting, Brandon, the
exactly.
pro watched his student, right? Let's see,
Mm-hmm.
he was the student. So think about this: the student apparently signed up for lessons to help,
Yep. Yep.
help himself get better, and then he tells the teacher what's
Yeah.
wrong and how to do it. And there's this
Yeah.
thing when the student is ready, the teacher will appear, right?
Right.
Um, think about that. When the student is ready, the teacher will appear. I do believe that there's always teachers in our lives, but I also think that we're our greatest teachers. It's kind of like the experience you're saying. You should be a student to your life so that you will know when to accept, where to go first. Wise enough to choose the person to go to, and not the person that's just going to, that's going to listen to you enough to convince you that to do what you want to do anyway. And so
Right.
I say to the listening, stop listening. Because I used to be a listener. I don't do that anymore. Okay, let's get to the point. I'm not saying I won't, allow that person. But after I see where this is going, you're not going to waste my time because
Yeah.
you're not paying me. You didn't hire me, so you're not going to waste my time. And even in the coaching and things like that, you guys, I have sat down with people. This is one in particular. I didn't even want their money, and I sat with them for about 2 hours. It was a couple. I was like, I don't want your money. I don't want any part of this foolishness that you guys are doing, right? And it gets deep when someone hires you and you say that's okay, don't want it, don't even want that energy in my
Yeah.
bank account. That's
Right.
that's deep. Um, as you talked about the experience, you think about when you're applying for a job, what's the first thing they want to know, whether you got the degree or not? Because I've heard people say, how do you think I get experience if everybody's asking me, do I have experience? I went to college, now I need the experience, right?
Right.
But that's one of the first things they ask you. And you were relating that to being a father.
Yeah.
There is nothing greater than being a student to your life and being honest with yourself about the classes you are attending, but also the classes that you did not sign up for that you need. You know how we avoid the ones where I'm gonna save that one for last because I don't want to take it. That's hard.
Right.
It's hard.
Right.
You know? So
Those are
I
the.
would go ahead. Those are the what?
I was saying those are the same. Those are the same people that purchase advice, basically, and counsel, and then interrupt them because they only want their own echo, and because they don't want to be challenged. They don't want to be they don't want to be challenged in rhetoric. They don't want to be challenged in their advice. They don't want to be challenged in their experience. They don't want to be challenged in their scholarship. And so now what do is at the end of their college career, they put all their hard classes off at the end and they can't graduate because they haven't spread it out. You know, they not
Yeah.
spread too thin on the right at the last leg because they didn't put the energy, the effort, the focus, the commitment and challenge themselves in the beginning. You know,
How is
so
that applicable to life, Brandon? What would you say in that sense? I look at that as the same as not being a student to your life. You don't when things come up, when situations and circumstances come up, like you've stopped me many times in saying, because I said I'm going through. You said what, and I would change it to growing through.
right.
It's like the story we heard about the father whose horse ran away, came back with some
Oh
wild
yeah.
horses. Yeah, and they were saying, you know, the neighbors was coming over saying, "Oh, we're so sorry, your horse went away." But then the horse and the man would say, "It's okay. Maybe something good would come out of it." And then wild horses came back with his horse, but the wild horses ended up not really attacking. But horses are wild horses; they're going to do
Oh
what they do. So the son's leg ended up getting was
yeah.
broken. The neighbors came over and said, "Oh, we're so sorry," and the man said, "Oh, something good will come out of it." Well, then war happened, And all of the young men, with the exception of the young boy, well, that young man, because his legs was broken, were taken. And the only reason they didn't take him because his leg was broken. And so I say that to say, I truly believe that there's good that will come out. There is good that will come out of every situation and circumstances or circumstance. And that everything that happens to you, if you will allow it, is also happening for you. So don't seek advice that you're not ready to hear and adhere to. And I think a lot of times we do that. We do that for the sake of our ego, and sometimes just to hear ourselves talk. I'm gonna say, stop talking so damn much. Stop talking and start doing. Stop talking. I think we talk far too much about things that don't matter and about things that we know we're not going to do anything about.
Mm.
That we're
I
not
like
going to
the
do
word that
anything
you
about.
said. You said adhere. And it's like adding to what you hear with action.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Action to what you hear is adhering. I think I don't think knowledge is power. I don't. I think knowledge is potential. Knowledge is potential because if you don't act on it, what use of it is? What use is it sitting in your brain? So knowledge is potential power, but it's not kinetic power. It has no motion behind it. You know, but true
Brandon,
power is acting on that knowledge that you have.
it's like, I thought about when you said that. Imagine this, you guys. Um, Putting gasoline in a car with no motor. What you gonna do with it?
Yeah,
What you gonna do with
exactly.
it? Like
That's a
like
great one.
that's crazy. And a lot of times that's what we do. We just want to feel good. But sometimes your best you comes out of you fit going through some stuff, y'all.
What did we say yesterday?
Yeah,
The best inspiration comes through desperation.
desperation. And we don't want to. We don't want things like, why? Who are you? Why not? Why wouldn't life happen for you? Not to you, for you. Why wouldn't it? And if you're
Right.
going to seek advice, seek it from Lord. Be wise enough, like to say yes or no. Be wise enough to look at the person. Here it is. He's a pro. This student has hired him, and then he's going to tell him what should be done and how it should be done. How crazy is that?
That's absolutely crazy. I'm gonna call myself out because I remember over the last 2 years, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, I think I've done that to my MMA coach. He'd be like, Brandon, why you doing this? You should do it like this. Man, coach, I'm working this. It ain't about what I'm working, it's about what my coach just said. You know what I mean? And I think, you know, that's when we don't give the person that we put in that position the authority that position entails. You know what I
Ooh,
mean? We
what
put, huh?
what about when we hear the voice of God telling us, think about the position, the Almighty High.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
When we
yeah.
hear His voice saying, "No, no, no, yes, yes, yes," as Tupac says, "No, no, no."
By Tupac, that's my son, y'all. Just in case y'all ain't
Yeah.
know.
And he'll say, "No, no, 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 grandma, no." So what about in the same as Joseph, that we were studying Joseph last Thursday, and said Joseph desired her just as much as she desired him, but he saw God. He heard, saw God. So think about the advice. That ain't even advice, it's the word. And think about how if we follow that, we wouldn't even need the advice. We just need to move, just get up. And like you were saying, you felt like your day was planned. So, man, if we don't accept it or receive it, I'll say receive it from God, what are we even going to get advice for?
Exactly.
You know?
Right, right.
So there's so many twists and turns to this one, y'all. But who is your dear Abby? I'll say that. Who is your dear Abby or Abby's? And what advice are you seeking? What are the things? Are you repeatedly going to people for the same old stuff?
Yeah.
I mean, the same thing over and over and over. And every time you come to seek, you do more talking than listening.
Mm.
So it may be, are you wise enough? Are you wise to
I got a
seek the right advice? Go ahead, Brandon.
I got a challenge for everybody. There was something I remember. I'm just reading it back in my mind, the passage that we just read, and there's a part near the bottom that says, basically creating a board of advisors.
Mm,
I remember this from a couple years ago when I think I first read this, and it had me on this trend of seeking advice from people. And so I actually created a little mini board of advisors. I remember on the board of advisors was Paul, who's now the mayor of Memphis, Paul Young. It was um, 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 Douglas Scarborough, who was the a black man who was over the St. Louis Memphis region of the Federal Reserve Bank. And he gave me some great advice. So I put these certain people in positions of like, hey, I'm gonna call you every once in a while, and I'm gonna get some advice from you. And so let me look back and see exactly what it was saying. But it said, create a board of advisors. And so
yeah,
I want you guys to think about is who is worthy enough in their character, in their wisdom, in their experience, in their emotional IQ. Who is worthy enough to be on your personal board of advisors? And I want you to write it down and make a little list. It can be, now most boards have 9 people. They doesn't have to be that long or that big. But what people have the attributes that would make them, that would give them the education or the experience as that boss asks to be on your board of advisors. So if that's the first thing an employer would ask is, what's your experience? Maybe you base your board of advisors based on their experience, so that you can learn from them, and you don't have to go through the same hurdles and challenges and obstacles that they did in order to reach your goals. And isn't that the purpose of life, from one generation to the next, to learn from the generation before us? Doesn't have to be recreating the wheel, but let's just make it more efficient. Maybe we can make the rim a little lighter so that it rolls faster. Maybe we can make the rubber a little smoother, so that we have a more comfortable ride. Maybe we thicken up the rubber and put a different tread on it so that we don't slip on the road. But we ain't got to reinvent the wheel. We just need to see what was inefficient about the last one. And that way, once we get that, we pass that on to the next generation, instead of this brand new wheel that got all its new problems. You see what I'm saying? Reinventing this
yeah.
whole thing that's already in existence. So maybe write that down today, guys. Who deserves to be on your board of advisors? Call those people up and say, hey, I'm creating a board of advisors. They're gonna be like, for what? What kind of business you starting now? What kind of organization you starting? You'll be like, man, I am the organization. I'm not a businessman. I'm a businessman, in the words of
Right,
Jay-Z.
right.
So who deserves to be advisors to the business of your life?
And Brandon, you make me think about this book called CEO to the Power of You. Erica Murray is the, I don't know if you
I
remember that book.
Yeah.
A great read. Erica Murray is out of, well, she's I guess out of Texas. That's where she is now. So look that book up, CEO to the
All
Power
right.
of You. I actually interviewed her some years back, and I remember one of the questions, or one of the things she suggested, was to have people, some of the people that you feel that know you the best, to tell you about you. Write down the things about you. And BoJack Girl is on with us, and I remember asking her to do that for me. I need to find that. Tell me the good things, the bad things, what, and it gives a list. I have to find that book and
I think
maybe
I have
share
it.
it. You
I
have
don't
my
know.
book. You
I,
have all of my books, dude.
Mom, I got two
Buy your own.
two libraries. I got a book. I got a little library back
If you
here. I
got
got
that
one
book,
over.
that's mine because you didn't buy that.
No, I ain't buy it. I for sure didn't buy it.
I'm messing with you. Just like Outwitting the Devil. Maybe I bought you that one. I don't know because I try to keep that one close by. But
Me too. Look,
y'all, that is, I'm telling you, show it again, Brandon. Just show it again. Show it again.
Napoleon Hill,
I
Outwitting
think
the
I
Devil.
think I bought you that one. I don't think because I like I said I like to keep that one. Outwitting the Devil, Napoleon Hill. But Erica Murray asked, and be intentional about the people. Y'all should do this. I think everybody needs a person that will hold them accountable, even if they ask or not. Like I made a decision and move and act upon it. And I promise y'all, I wanted somebody to say, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" Nobody said it. Nobody. Like I needed somebody to step in front of me and say, "What are you doing?" Nobody
You know
said
that.
it. for me.
You know what that reminds me
Nobody.
of, and you
What?
might catch it before I get done. But I remember, I actually think I think I was at my great great grandmother's funeral. No, not great great grandmother's, my great great aunt's funeral, my man.
Oh my man. Yeah.
You remember that? I think it was either there or was at another place where we were at that big church. And I remember wearing my hat. You remember that Kingo hat I used to have?
Yeah. That was at Aunt Iola's.
Aunt Iola's, that's what it was. Aunt Iola's funeral. And it was a green Kangol hat. And I think I got it from my grandpa. I don't know. I got one of them from my grandfather. And I was in the church with that hat on.
I remember.
And I walked in and I remember thinking to myself, I don't know if is it appropriate? Because, in the black church, you ain't supposed to wear hats in the church as a man. Now, the women, y'all can have your big hats and your little, the old ladies with the big bows and stuff on the hat. But I was like, well, shoot, I'm gonna wear my hat. I like my hat, and
I
I
ain't
think
got like Tupac. I ain't got to wear. I ain't got to take
yeah,
my
yeah,
hat
and
off.
I think I had just started to lose a little bit of hair up here, something started to thin out. So I was like, I'm gonna wear my hat, and I remember thinking, I wonder if my grandfather's gonna say something to me,
You
and
did.
I saw him looking at me every now and then, and look back, and it wasn't a look, it wasn't a look like, hey, grandson, how you doing? It was a look like, hmm,
What are you doing?
what are you doing, right?
Now, how you
I was
doing?
like,
What are you doing?
I'm gonna let him say something to me. So sometimes, sometimes we do want that. We need that advice. I think there are certain things that we do sometimes in our emotional states and our states of disruption or turbulence, to where those are little cries for help. Even something as small as wearing a hat in a church,
Yeah.
just to get the comfort of, oh man, I have someone in my lineage that's right there that can give me that advice. And really, after that after that situation, I went to my grandfather for more advice. It was almost me testing him to see would he take the easy route and just be like, "Oh, that's my grandson. I ain't seen him in a little bit. He came down for my sister's funeral. I'm not worried about that right now. I'm here to mourn my sister." Um, or was he gonna take the route of, no, this is my next generation, this is my grandson, I have a certain amount of responsibility to tell him this,
Hmm.
that this is outside the bounds of our culture, outside of the etiquettes of our experience that I want to pass on from my generation to yours. And I won't wear a hat in a church no more. And he said it very gently, but with certainty, not with any type of enmity or anything like that. He was like, grandson, you take that hat off in the church now. And then proceeded to give me a hug and tell me he loved me and went on about his way. He didn't even have to look back to check to see if I took the hat off, you know?
Wow, Brandon, that makes me think about as it relates to parents and children. So maybe a young person would hear this. It's as if parents feel like we have to have someone else tell you what we want you to know or do. There's this thing with children and parents that if the parent tells them, oh no, no, oh no, for some children.
Yeah.
But if someone else says the same thing, that child will listen, right? So I'm going to say you have to, especially to our young people, you have to be willing to sometimes just listen and do. Because if you got some ride or die parents in your life who will ride with you to die, why would they tell you something wrong? Why? Even if you don't understand it right then, and most times you won't because you haven't experienced life in the way that your parents have. And I'm gonna make it really, really personal to our men, man, to the fathers and the grandfathers. What you say and what you do is everything to the boys and the girls, young and the old. Y'all seen this little, and we'll get ready to wrap it up. This young man came out with his grandfather. I was out in the field working, and he was 10 or 11. And they were out. They had a construction business. The grandfather, the father, and now guess what? They're equipping this young 10, 11 year old who stood up and talked to me as if he had already been to mechanical school. Like he talked to me with such a surety, such wisdom about my truck, because my at that time my truck would just, for whatever reason, you'd get somewhere and it wouldn't crank and then for about 5 minutes it'll crank up, and nobody could tell me what was wrong with it. Nobody could
Mm,
find out what was wrong with it. And this young man stood up to me with the voice and the wisdom of not just his father
mm,
but his grandfather.
mm,
But I think sometimes we're so busy, because I'm gonna say it, we so busy looking 21
mm.
and dressing 21 and acting 21, but really 61. And I'm not saying you got to act old, but you got to have some wisdom. You got to have something to give back.
Wow.
Because if I'm looking like you, dressing like you, acting like you, talking like you, walking like you,
Mm.
and I want to say some more words, but I ain't gonna say them. You know what I'm saying? What are they gonna do? What are they gonna take from us?
Mm.
Especially if you're a mama or daddy. What are they gonna take from us? Dude, you mean?
Right.
Daddy, you mean? Woman, you mean? So there ought to be some wisdom even in the way that we talk, that we
Mm.
walk, that we dress, that we impress. All of that. There ought to be some wisdom. That way, when we give the advice, they might just hear us. But more importantly, they might just come and seek the advice because they see us walking the walk and talking the talk,
Wow.
or walking the walk of the talk we talk, right?
Yeah.
So, and don't be judgmental. So, this is a two-sided coin here, y'all.
Yeah. I
Two.
wanted to highlight something you said. You said when fathers and grandfathers say something, it holds a different kind of weight. I want to cite Pew Research, PEW Research, did some studies, and there's also a couple other studies that have been shown that. Um, actually, let me pull it up. I think I got it.
While you're pulling it up, there's
Actually, I got
also,
it. I
you
got
got
it.
it? Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, do you need to
No,
go
no, no,
first?
no, no. I
Okay.
was just thought you
So
was gonna
Pew
fill the space.
Research and other studies have found that children from single mother households are 5 times more likely to commit suicide
Okay.
than children from both unbroken households and single father households. Single father households children just with a single father have a better trajectory both financially, educationally, emotionally, and determine whether or not they're gonna create a two parent household in their future than if they were with a single mother. Isn't that interesting?
Yes,
It's
yes,
nothing. It's nothing to down single mothers at all. This is biological psychology. You can't you can't go against the facts. But oftentimes in our court systems, if you think about it, there's an undue process that goes automatically in Western society to the mother without a full consideration, right? Because of our affinity for our mothers is different than our affinity for our fathers. We love our fathers and our mothers, but and I'm going to cite a hadith or a saying of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, from the Prophet of Islam. Um, I think it was down in 632 AD. Someone came to him and said, who in this world should you honor the most? He said, your mother. He said, okay, who should you honor second? He said, your mother. He said, and third most, who should you honor? He said, your mother. He said, okay, and how about fourth? He said, your father. So there's three times of that emphasis of your heart that's given to your mother. And your mother loves you in a way that no one else in this world, including your father, will love you. And that can be taken advantage of. She loves you so much, she's gonna let you get away with a lot of stuff. But that father gonna be like, listen, buddy, you better get right. The mother's gonna give you a little bit more of a bend, even if she tries to be mother and father at the same time. Her heart for you is different. She carried you for 9 months. Her experience with you is flesh on flesh. She felt you kicking in her belly. She could feel when you were hungry before you were hungry. She knows even as an adult when something's going on with you,
For
and you don't.
months. For
For
months she
months,
carried you.
exactly. So there has to be a check to the power of a mother. There has to be a check. We have checks and balances in government as far as powers, as far as legislative, executive checks the legislative, the legislative checks the judicial. There has to be a check to the immense power of a mother, and that is the father. And the father is the one who creates boundaries. And if someone doesn't know their limits and doesn't know their boundaries, they will go into excess. And so studies show, specifically Pew, PEW, has done many studies, but one in particular, that single fathers are financially more stable, that their children are 5 times less likely to commit suicide. If they're in a single mother, 5 times more likely to commit suicide than if they were in a two-parent household or just a single father. So I think what you're saying is right. There is some weight to when a father says no or gives advice. That's all.
Yeah.
That's what I want to add.
Are really, and I know we've gone way off left field, but it's okay. Everything happens for a reason,
It
right?
does. It does.
Everything. So somebody's out there going to need this. But it also made me think about several situations where I saw the power of a father, the presence. Because see, you can be there, but not father.
Mm,
You could be present, but not there. You know what I'm saying? And
yeah.
there's a difference. And it made me think about I won't use names, but this young lady. Matter of fact, I was over to one of your friends' house, Brandon, and this young lady walks down the stairs. She was probably about 16, maybe 15, 16. And she's already a little feisty something, but she was testing her father. She really, really was, y'all. This was like a movie scene.
Oh, I know
And
exactly what you're talking about.
I
Okay,
know
this
you do,
this is
right?
like 20,
So
15
she
years ago.
walks, she's just prancing down the stairs and comes through the living room, didn't do anything, just comes through the living area where we were sitting with this little bitty skirt on and them flip flops and them little hips was just a twisting. And it was as if she was trying to see, she was getting ready to go to the mall, if she was going to be able to get away with that skirt, right? And I saw the father, his eyes started from the moment she came down and he walked around like, what the? And he got up when she went up because there's stairs. You would come down one way through the living area, you could go back up another way. He got up and he walked out and said, I'll be back. And so I knew what he was going to do. And shortly thereafter, this little prissy thing came down with some clothes on.
I remember
So,
that.
I
I
mean,
remember
and the same family where the situation where the son was camping, called home, wanted mom to come get him in the middle of the night. Dad was traveling for work. And what did mom do? The mom that carried him and her little, I guess he was like fifth, third, fourth, fifth grade or something young. Her
that.
baby boy was calling, afraid in the dark, come get me, mama, come get me. She called her husband, his father, the head of that house. And he said, let me make some calls. He called and he told the young man, I'm out of town. I'm not going to have your mom and your sisters get up in the middle of the night and drive hours to get you. You're going to have to sit this one out. You wanted to go. When I get back, we'll get you.
Yeah. And that young man now is married,
Successful mentally.
graduated college. The sisters are both doctors, and are doing their thing right now. If they saw this, they would know who they are.
They would know who they are for
They would
sure, for
know.
sure.
But
Yeah, but
it just
just
goes
a
to show.
loving dynamic, just a loving family, like we talked about with the Youngs. Just and that's what we're missing. And I'm gonna say this, I'm really gonna get off here for sure. I remember Brando. I don't know if you remember. I used to tell Brandon, if you tell me you're going to McDonald's, you better be at McDonald's. If you change your mind and go across the street to Burger King, just text me.
You talking about
Just
me or Brando? I know you used to tell me that,
you.
and you used to tell Brando.
But Brando, this is the thing. This particular situation, because you were like, I shouldn't. You would get mad because I want to know where you are. You know,
Yeah,
you'd had the little hot head for a minute.
yeah,
And your friend said, at least your mom cares. She cares enough to want to know where you are.
yeah. I remember
You
that.
remember him telling you that?
Yeah,
Like, at least your mom asked and she wants to know. And I even explained my reason for that is because if I think you're at McDonald's and something happened at Burger King, I'm cool.
yeah,
Not that I don't want anything to happen to anybody, but my concern is you. So if you switch on me, tell me. So if
yeah.
you need me, I know where to come. I know first that I need to come.
And here I'm looking at Brando. I was like, man, you come to my house and stay the night for 2 nights. And your mama ain't even call. I ain't trying to put him out like that. I'm not trying to bring specific people into this, but I mean, I would just see people. Cause I was wrong. Man. I shouldn't have mentioned their names in that sense. But I would see, people not having that same thing. I'm like, oh, you got more freedom, but
Yeah,
really, that's not what it was. I had more love. I had
that's
more,
a
not
good
love. I
point,
had more.
Brandon.
I had more structure. If that makes sense. So and I could tell that when my friend slash relative would not have that same thing, that he missed that he saw it so novel that you cared to that extent, that he really did. I mean, he would tell me that oftentimes, like we would be sitting there, and we go on a road trip, and you be in a call, we're in a 6 hour road trip, every 2 hours you calling me, you know and on the other end, on his side, they didn't even know he was gone.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, we got to really honor the people that give us advice. So let's go back to the
All
book,
right.
guys, and think about who's on your board of advisors. It gave us four things to consider. Remember these 4 rules concerning advice. Admit that you need it. Number 1. Consider the source. Number 2. Go to the right source. Number 3. And 4, develop a board of advisors, and don't be afraid to use these keys. These are keys concerning the advice that you give. So I'm going to end it the same way we do every day,
Mhm.
folks, with a reading of the title, a reading of the quote from our distinguished African American, and our affirmation. I will read 3 times. So the title is Dear Abby. Abby, again, is a columnist who would give advice to people that would write into her. And the quote is from Sammy Davis Jr.: "Don't ask for anyone's advice unless you're prepared to use it." And our affirmation that I read 3 times, one for me, one for you, and one for the person you're going to share it to, is: I will be particular regarding whose advice I accept. I will be particular regarding whose advice I accept. If you got somebody next to you, say it to them. If you don't, say it to yourself one more time. I will be particular
Particular.
regarding whose
Whose
advice
advice
I
I
accept.
accept.
All
Brandon,
right.
I
Yes,
know
ma'am.
it has nothing to do with the show, but I want to just remind men, fathers, grandfathers, uncles, cousins, male cousins, how much this world needs you. How much this world needs you. I'm telling you, don't just stand there. Don't just stand there. I know the show is not about that, but that's my letter to Dear Abby. Please help me help our men so that they don't just stand there.
Mm.
Okay?
All right. And with that, guys, we appreciate you so much. We'll be right here, same time, same place tomorrow, 7 a.m., within this season podcast, and our reading and celebrating of African American and Black History Month. Our reading, Daily Motivations for African American Success by Dennis Kimbro. Thank you all so much for watching. Let us know in the comments on our YouTube, on our Instagrams, on our Facebook, what you thought about this. And please use this link to share with somebody and bring them into tomorrow's show. We love you. We thank you. And we'll see you tomorrow. Peace.
Peace.